All right, welcome to part 5 of the series on how to write, publish, and launch a nonfiction book. In this video, we're going to talk about how to find and hire the right type of editor. We're going to talk about specifically what are the things to be on the lookout for, why you actually need an editor, and even the different types of editing. And my goal for you is to understand and to help you understand why an editor is so powerful and how it can dramatically impact the quality and professionalism of your book. So let's dig in here. Well, first of all, let's talk about this. You're getting an editor. This is an exciting time because it means it's getting real. You've done your rough draft, and now it's time to get somebody else's eyes on your actual work. Now, at this time, authors start to feel a certain type of way. And for a lot of people, especially first-time authors, hiring an editor is the first time that somebody else is going to really review the manuscript, really critique the manuscript, and really help improve the manuscript. And this can bring up a lot of emotions. There can be the intimidation of doing something for the first time. There can be the concern of what if it's not very good. There can be the, oh my gosh, I'm so excited, but I don't even know how an editor is going to really help me. Here's the good news. When you find the right person or the right team to really do this, it's an absolute game changer. And we're going to talk about all this in this particular video. My name is Jake Kelfer, and I'm a 4-time best-selling author who turned my books into multiple successful businesses in the speaking space, the coaching space, and the book publishing space. This is my 4th book, Big Idea to Bestseller, and I currently run a company, a full-service book publishing company called Big Idea to Bestseller. And what we do is we specialize in helping high-level entrepreneurs and high-performing executives write, publish, launch, and market nonfiction books for back-end business growth and impact. So we have an entire team of writing coaches, ghostwriters, editors, designers, formatters, project managers, and everything to help people get their book from idea to launch successfully. And I've worked with hundreds of authors to help them do this. And I wrote my last book in less than an hour a day, and it's all documented. So we're all about efficiency and really helping you spend the right amount of time so you can create the best book possible to ultimately create the most success and impact on the back end. But this video is about finding and hiring the right editor. So let's break it down and talk about why an editor is so critical to making your book professional and legitimate. Now look, I've had my mom. She's a professor who's graded top-tier papers at an elite university, edit my books. I've had friends who are English majors take looks at my books, and I've tried everything in between because I've done this on a budget, I've done this not on a budget, and I can tell you there's one option that works better than everything, both from keeping your relationships intact standpoint, but also in terms of getting the right support and the right thing, and that's this. Hiring a professional editor is absolutely key to creating the best possible manuscript. Now, I'll be honest, when I was writing my first book, I was like, oh, I don't really need an editor. I would just have somebody I know help me do that. And that was helpful, right? And that was good. And it was good enough for where I was at then. But now as I've experienced this, I have 4 books myself, we've helped hundreds of people. There is such a huge gap between having a friend, an English major, a family member edit your book versus having a professional. And just off the sheer fact alone that there are multiple types of editing, and most people don't even recognize that. So you really want to make sure that you have the right team and the right support. And here's the other thing. You really want to make sure you have an editor that specializes in your genre or a company that can really produce your genre of books, because sometimes editors are incredibly skilled, but an editor for X type of book might not be the right editor for Y type of book. So we'll get into all this. Now, there are 2 types of editing that we're going to talk about today. There's the content editing, and then there's the copy editing. Now, I go into a lot more depth in this in my book, Big Idea to Bestseller. So if you want to get a free copy, there will be a link below. And that will walk you through the entire process A to Z, similar to how this entire series is walking you through the process step by step. There's just a lot more detail there. So if you want a copy, go ahead and grab that. Now, depending on your skill level, okay, your writing level, depending on if you've worked with a writing coach, and how good the manuscript is, will ultimately determine what level and what type of editing you need at which part of the process. So a lot of times if you are a very, very beginner author and you're struggling with the basic stuff of flushing it out, you might need more of a developmental editor, more of a content editing. And if you are someone who's like, I'm a really solid writer, I can dial this in, and you really just need the structural editing, that's going to be more of the copy editing. So let me walk you through the differences here. The first piece is content editing. Now, content editing is big picture, focusing on what you're saying more than the technical edits. So this focuses more on the flow and the sequences. This is more about the organization. This is more about the making sure that the book is a good read, okay? This is where you help with the content and what should be added, subtracted to make it a better reading experience. Now, I'm not a professional editor. I run a publishing company, and this is information that has come from our team of experts who have done hundreds, if not thousands, of different edits, okay? Now, the second type of editing is your content editing. This is the nitty-gritty. This is the grammar, the punctuation. This is where you're going to make suggestions on how to make the text actually stronger. And this is what, in my opinion, really makes the book professional. Because if I'm reading a book and I buy a book and I'm starting to read it and there's typos everywhere, that's a huge turnoff. Not only in the reading experience, but also from the experience of, am I actually going to hire this person when their book has all these typos and errors? And as a matter of fact, you would think this would be something that would be obvious, but I actually read a book from a pretty high-level person from social media, and they had done a book super, super quickly, and they were like, oh, I love it. And I was like, well, I want to take a look at it. I want to support them. And so I buy their book, and there's typo after typo after typo after typo. Now, look, every book you'll ever read will likely have a typo or two, right? I've seen Michelle Obama's book have a typo. I've seen people make typos in their cover before. And while we're not necessarily striving to be 100% perfect, we want to be as perfect as we can be in relation to this. But I was reading this book. And there were so many typos. And first of all, it ruined the book for me. I couldn't even read it. And second of all, it totally hindered that person's credibility because they went for the fast action. They went for the quick option. They went for just getting the book out there. And while I think the content could have been good, I wasn't interested in continuing it, nor was I interested in hiring that person on the back end. So that's copy editing and content editing. Now, when you are trying to find the right editor, you're going to probably be like, well, where do I even begin? Now, there are two approaches that you can typically take when finding an editor. Either one, you can go do this on your own, and you could try to find editors, people who have done this before. You could try different websites. You could try it all on your own. Or you can work with a publishing company like ours, where we just do it all for you. We'll do all the edits, the different rounds based on what you actually need, and then you just make the approvals, and we move on. And then the book goes super, super efficiently and smoothly. What we always find is that people try to do this on their own, and then they end up coming to us. And what happens is when you try to do it on your own, people will go to Fiverr or they'll go to Upwork or they'll go to these freelance sites and they'll just try to find anybody. And oftentimes you're either going for speed, you're either going for cost, or you're going for quality. And what I see a lot of the times is people will go for speed. And so they'll hire somebody who could do it the fastest, but then the book's not edited properly and they don't have the manuscript at the level they really want it to be. Or they'll go for it super cheaply and they'll be like, well, I don't need that much editing, so I'll hire someone really cheaply. And what happens is you end up spending a little bit of money there. It's not good. So you spend up a little bit more money there. It's getting better. You spend a little bit more money there. And by the time you've done that, you've now wasted months of your time and thousands of your dollars, when in reality, all you had to do was do the right choice once. And I want to make sure that you make the right choice, whatever that is for you. And so here is how I would recommend finding an editor, okay? Now, again, these are things that will take you a lot of time if you choose to do this on your own, but I want to show you the process because I believe that there's always more than one way to do it. Now, is the easiest way this way? No, the easiest way is to work with a company like ours where we have a team, we have a process, we do the work for you, and then we give you updates along the way. But my goal is really to make sure that I want you to save your time and your money, and I want you to make sure that you're maximizing your book experience. So here's a basic process. You're going to reach out to 3 to 5 editors, okay? I have a script. You can get it from my book, Big Idea to Bestseller. And you just reach out to 3 to 5 editors. Now, finding these people, you're going to want to do some additional research there. When you reach out to these people, you're going to see who has the best communication and the best response time. Speed is our friend. Why? Because I want somebody who's quick to respond to me. I don't want to have to wait a week before I hear back from my editor. You're going to jump on a call and get to know them, okay? Ask questions, be clear, set expectations. Part of having the right editors, you're building your team, right? You're building your starting lineup of your book team. And then once you've interviewed a couple people, you want to trust your gut and commit, okay? This is a process that I've simplified, and this can be done however much time you're willing to spend on this. But what I would encourage is you're going to find the editors, you're going to reach out to them, you're going to see who responds, you're going to hop on a call. These can take several hours if you are kind of doing it. So just keep in time and money. What do you value more here? Now, when you are doing this, I think that there are 4 things that I personally look out for when I am looking at an editor. And this was the process that I did when I was trying to find the right editor for my books. And I call them the 4 goods. The first good when I'm considering an editor is I want to have a good relationship. Here's what I mean by that. I want to look for an editor who's excited about me and my book. I want someone who's not just like, oh, I need a client, but I want someone who's like invested in the book. Maybe someone who's done it before. Maybe someone who's like, Jake, I believe in you and your book as an extension of you. To me, that's really important because this is an important relationship. For me to give my book to an editor, I have to trust that you're going to do a great job. I'm going to invest money. I'm going to invest time. I'm going to invest the fact that like I'm putting control in your hands. So I really want to have a great relationship and an editor that's into me, not just in for the sale. The second thing is I want a good experience. I want the editor to have had experience editing books similar to mine. And so this is really, really important because a lot of times people will just go hire an editor. But in reality, find the editor that's done books in similar categories. Now, editors are really, really skill-based. They're really, really talented people. They've spent a lot of time honing their craft. And so if you find the right person, you're often going to be able to have a great experience. Next is good vibe. So make sure you vibe with them. Make sure you like their style of communication. I'm somebody who I don't like to wait a week unless there's clear expectations in advance for a response. So I'm always trying to figure out, is the vibe there? Do we mesh? Is this going to be a good working relationship? Because you're going to rely on them and they're going to rely on you to execute. Because when you do the editing process, there's back and forth. You give them the manuscript, they make some changes. You approve or deny those changes. You make some other adjustments, you send it back, right? There's a give and take there, so you really want to make sure that the vibe is good and the communication style works with your particular style. And then lastly is you want to make sure that there's good pricing. So editing is an important piece of the process. It's probably one of the most important things that I would encourage people investing in. And if you're doing this independently, it's going to be one of your largest external expenses in creating your book. And if you're doing this with a company like ours, this is all included in the services that we provide and do for you. But you want to make sure that the editor's rate works within your budget. There are standard rates that you can Google online that some editors will charge, and then there are different levels of editors. So just like anything, sometimes the better editors charge more. They charge more per word, more per project, more per hour. And there are other people who charge less per word, less per project, less per hour. So you got to find out what is the rate of that editor if you're doing it individually. And then it's important for you, depending on your budget level and how you're choosing to create this book. This is, in my opinion, a necessary investment when creating your book. I think this is a huge, huge, huge thing that creates a really polished book. And it's one of the areas that you should be investing in your book. So you want to find the right thing. So look, now you know how to get your book edited. All right, we talked about the 4 goods. We talked about the different types of editing. We talked about the quick process of doing it. And so now you have the chance to turn your manuscript that you're excited about, that you're proud about, into something that is a really polished manuscript, fully edited and professional. Because professionalism is what separates the amateurs from the people who have long-term success in your book. The more professional the book is, the more opportunity you're going to create for yourself on the back end. So if you found this valuable and you want to dig deeper into it, go ahead and grab a free copy of my book, Big Idea to Bestseller. You can just go to bigidea2bestseller.com/free-book. Go ahead and do that. And you can get a free copy of that. Now, at the same time, if you know that you are ready to write a book and you want some help on maybe having us support you in this journey, then go to bigidea2bestseller.com/call and we'll talk through your book strategy. We'll create an entire game plan for you. We'll see where you're at, where you want to go, how we can bridge that gap, and ultimately create a book roadmap for you. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that you are ready to take the next step in your book adventure.